I don't know what this came from, but yeah, I just don't feel like a lot of films really are marketed correctly, or rather that they have a true demographic.
Wow.
What's up, everybody? So, my name is Michael Stephenson. Welcome back to my channel. You are currently watching the the entertainment industry series. For the most part, I talk about film and television, how they have changed, things of that nature. I also talk a little bit about publishing and even a little tiny bit about music as well. Oh, and let me also say that if you are new to the channel, please go check out some of my previous videos. In some of my most earliest videos, I'm trying to do this sequentially. In some of my most earliest videos, I talk about certain like principles and I guess language that I try to develop with you guys on the channel to make things go a little bit smoother, a little bit quicker. So there's like a shorthand in some of those videos. So tonight I want to take off my artist cap, my artist and entertainer cap, and I want to take off my consumer cap as well, although I'm going to keep my consumer cap handy. And I want to put on my business cap, and I want to talk about the marketing of movies and television shows, specifically as it relates to audience demographic, okay, and audience capture. Let me first preface this video by saying I don't know when exactly I'm going to release this video. I'm going back and forth on whether I will even truly tackle the woke versus not woke or anti-woke or whatever, silliness that you guys want to go with. Wondering if I even want to tackle that, because I've always felt that those were probably going to be my most controversial videos. And like I said, I'm trying to actually, weirdly enough, be nice in these videos because of what happened to me. And like I said, if you want to know what happened, you can please go back and check out my intro video to the entertainment industry series here on my channel. But I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to put out a certain level of positivity, even in this negative sort of critique of Hollywood. So I don't know if I'm going to get into the woke versus anti-woke stuff. But I will say this, is that during that time, during those videos, if I do in fact go back and make all of them, that is the time that you will most likely see the highest amount of hypocrisy within me. I explained that in another video as well, something around the artist, the nature of the artist and entertainer or what have you. We have a high amount of hypocrisy. Even in addressing those things, I think that I try to be as measured and as thoughtful, I guess, with each topic as I can be. And so with that, I want to address this topic now. There was one question that I have had nagging me over and over and over again for a lot of stuff that I am seeing today. That question simply is, who is this for? Who is this for? Who is this product really made for? Because when I'm looking at some of this stuff, I honestly don't know. So first off, I guess we just have to back up just a teensy bit and address some societal stuff. As I said in the cycle video, specifically as it relates to the generations, truth, reality, and beauty, how they relate to how each generation relates to that stuff. I said that millennials are one of our traits, one of the things that we have adopted as a generation is a high level of both nihilism as well as hedonism. And this has also led us to the Peter Pan and Wendy syndrome, right? So there's a lot of men who don't want to grow up, and there's a lot of women who kind of treat the men as children anyway. They've been treating us like this since we were kids. So they kind of don't care that we're not growing up because they always know that they can go back to a certain level of reality, so to speak. So they have the Wendy syndrome and the guys have the Peter Pan syndrome. On some levels, I feel like because of that, because there is a certain, I guess, extended adolescence, so to speak. And of course, Gen Zers also have this thing to where it's not that they don't want to grow up, but it's that they are being coddled so much and for so long that they are also, I guess it's stunting their growth, and that's why why one of the things they've adopted is a mentality of fakeness, of phoniness. Because of that, some of the things that have been created as far as art and entertainment go are so incredibly skewed that it's really hard to figure out the key demographic, or at least the most sought after audience for some of the things that are being created, because some of this stuff, it just kind of defies the logic of, if it is for a particular audience, it kind of defies that logic as far as like the marketing goes. Not only did I have this question for the show which shall not be named, and again, I've talked about the show a couple of times, and like I said, I'm really trying to be nice and stay away from really going in and criticizing the show super tough. But not only does that show have it in spades, just like, who the heck is this for? Who the heck is this show for? But there was also a great example of this in a movie from, I want to say 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, like that 3 or 4 year period, maybe 2016 or 2019 too. This movie came out, and oh my God, I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I want to say that I didn't go to the theaters to see it, thankfully, because not only was it marketed just terribly, but also, I didn't particularly care for the movie. I just thought the movie was boring, and not that the story or that the storyline was offensive in any way, at least not to me and my sensibilities. That movie was, oh boy, it had quite a few stars in it. Okay, first off, before I say the name of this thing, which I'm sure that, honestly, I know that the movie was not a hit, so I know that probably not a lot of people have even seen the movie or let alone heard of it. I got that backwards, but you guys get the point. But I know that there probably are at least a couple of rabid conservatives out there who are like, oh my God, we dogpiled on this movie back in the day or whatever. Before I say the movie's name, let me actually go back and explain a few things about marketing. When I was in business school, one of the things that we learned was that marketing is not just what a lot of people think of it as now. You know, a lot of people think of it as just the advertising or, you know, putting out commercials, trying to figure out how to sell this product. But in actuality, marketing departments, especially nowadays, have, or at least when I learned it, they had taken on a much bigger role in the entirety of the product development process. Okay, so they were part of the process of developing a product all the way through its entire life cycle. So basically, they did not just come in at the very end of product's life cycle and try to figure out how to sell you a box of laundry detergent. No, some of the market research that they did, which fell on them, that would even tell you as the company boss, the CEO or what have you, or the president or whatever, that would tell you what it was that people even wanted out of your product, or the things that they needed solving, the problems that they needed solving from this product or whatever it was. They would work with all of the people along the way to figure out how to create the best product all the way through. They would work with research and development, whoever. This also was something that was done and used in the art and entertainment industry. Business has almost always, our economy and businesses have almost always followed the art and entertainment industry, as well as the American slave industry. That's what our economy and businesses are based off of. So we were the ones who were leading this charge hundreds of years ago. And I say that because Charles Dickens, he basically did the same thing with his story, A Christmas Story. He would write a chapter or two of the story, and then he would release it, and then he would actually have people come to him and like give their comments on it. And so then he would go back and he would rewrite it and release the chapter that he did the previous week. He would re-release that chapter like the next week, and he would also have a new chapter with that. So that was kind of how he wrote Christmas Story. Anyways, I digress. When talking about this thing, and as I said, the show which shall not be named has this in spades, where you watch it, and the first time you watch it, you're like, who the heck is this for? The movie, and I really don't know if I should drop the name of the movie now or if I should build suspense more, but I feel like this is long enough already. The movie stars everybody's favorite, lovable, but kind of dumb boss, and Steve Carell. The movie is entitled Welcome to Marwen, and when you look at the majority of the marketing for this film, it is marketed as almost a feel-good family film. It's definitely marketed toward families. I think it's got a PG-13 rating. It even came out in, I believe, November or December. Whatever year it came out, I do know for a fact that it came out later in the year when people are either settling in for one of two film experiences. One, they're either settling in for Oscar bait, right? So movies that they think will potentially earn an Oscar, or two, they're settling in for good family fun, good family fare, stuff that can warm your heart and make you feel just good and cozy inside during the holiday season. So this came out in either November, and I'm talking, when I say November, I mean like, right around Thanksgiving, like that week or the week before, or it came out in December right around Christmas. And I remember seeing the movie. Like I said, I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I know I definitely saw it at home about 6 or 7 months later, sometime in the summer. And I had to keep looking up the trailer. I would literally pause the film and look at the trailer again, look at the trailers, the multiple trailers, just to make sure that this was supposed to be the same movie. Now, let me be very clear about this before I explain what happens in the movie. We have seen trailer parked or trailer trashed films before. And again, if you don't know the lingo, please go back to my video. I explained what I felt that term analogy means. We'd seen that before. One of the biggest ones was probably with Brokeback Mountain. There was a lot of people who thought that was just going to be a cowboy story, especially a lot of older conservatives, a lot of older white conservatives. And then when they went to the movie, they were quite shocked. And there was a lot of people asking for refunds because that was not their kind of cowboy story that they wanted. This, though, is not even that. Because at least once you get into Brokeback Mountain and you see the kind of story that it is, at least then you understand, okay, you know the audience for this. You know who this film is for. Welcome to Marwen. I never was able to fully figure it out. Now we have to actually get into the meat, the bones of the movie and what the movie is about. So number one, you have to understand this is based off of a real true life story. So Steve Carell plays a real life individual in this. And I think that this happened like 20 years ago, maybe in the late 90s, sometime in there. And I think some of his neighbors also are real people. The movie is centered around his character, who is a loner, middle-aged white man who has built up this entire fantasy world for himself that he goes into and he sort of escapes into it. The fantasy world is the way in which he interacts with this fantasy world is through using action figures and various toys and things. And he's built small little environments for these toys to be in, Lego environments and things of that nature. So he's built these little toy environments for these toys to be in. And he goes home every night and he plays with his toys, and he plays like a sergeant character, or some sort of high-ranking soldier. And he's filled this town with all these women that are soldiers that fight with him. I don't think he's autistic or anything, but the reason why he feels as if he has to escape into this fictional fantasy world is because of PTSD that he is suffering. So he sees the real world as being overbearing and just way too much for him and way too unpredictable and incredibly scary. And the reason why he has this PTSD is because, oh boy, he was, a number of years back, attacked in a hate crime by a group of, I think it was like 4 white Nazi men. And the reason why they attacked him and why it was determined to be a hate crime is not because he was Jewish, but it is because he, while in a bar at night, openly admitted to these men that he sometimes enjoyed wearing women's shoes. I could not begin to, and you guys, y'all can go and watch the trailers yourselves. You can pause this video if you want to, it doesn't matter. I cannot begin to express to you all the difference between how the movie was marketed and what the movie was. Just sitting there watching the movie, I was just stunned. I was baffled by it. Okay, so first off, let me be very clear about this. Is this a story worth telling, and does the story need to be told? I would say yes to both those things. That yes, this was definitely a story worth telling, probably needed to be told. Just the fact that he was fighting Nazis, okay, and so he had PTSD from that, and he had to finally come back and truly gain a certain sense of self and a certain sense of pride and a certain strength within himself to actually confront these men and see that they went to prison for what they did. So yes, it is a story that is worth telling. And for those of you who don't know, well, I guess most of you probably don't know, but this was a film that was directed by Robert Zemeckis, the creator of Back to the Future, right? It was him and I believe a writing partner who went to Steven Spielberg with the whole idea of Back to the Future. So they did that. His name is all over that. When I was sitting in this movie, I was just baffled. I was just baffled by the whole thing, because when you look at the trailers, it very much so feels as if it is being marketed as not only a family-friendly film, but specifically as if it's almost like a kid film, because most of the trailers are showing him like playing with the toys, or the way in which they show it, he's not like actually playing with the toys like that, but he inhabits the toys. So that you see the toys running around and stuff, almost as if it's like Disney's Toy Story or that old movie Small Soldiers from like the 90s, I think, if anybody ever saw that. It's kind of like that, to where, he's voicing a character and they're running around. So it has these nice graphics and all this stuff and this sort of fantastical world. But I can't even remember how much time he actually spends within that world. The movie is so... I don't even know. Like, yes, you can say that it's overly liberal all you want to, and I don't have a real problem with that. But at the same time, I just could not figure out who the heck the movie was for. I just really couldn't, because if I was looking at it from a kid's standpoint, yes, it was advertised as being a family-friendly film, but I just didn't feel like the movie was very kid-friendly almost at all. Even when he was playing with the toys, it felt more like this was something that people who liked Robot Chicken, the Adult Swim Robot Chicken, like it almost felt weirdly enough like that more than anything. Like that didn't feel like it would draw kids in and be like, oh wow, this is so cool. It just didn't feel like that. It felt almost too adult. But then also, if I'm considering like, oh well, you know, maybe it's a movie that is only for adults, but in considering that, I was like, well, it wasn't dramatic enough. It didn't have enough good dialogue. Like, it just wasn't enough of almost anything to be considered a movie for adults either. Are teenagers going to like this film? Like, again, as you guys can see, I'm still struggling with even trying to talk about this film because it felt like such a weird, anomalous thing to be out there that I just don't know. Are teenagers going to like this and just want to go and see it like for themselves? I had to say no, because there was nothing in it that really appealed to them either. They just didn't have that sort of teen spirit about them. So no, it was not a film that was for teens, especially because teens like stuff that is, you know, story that is going to move a little bit faster. This film, to me, it moved incredibly slow, very, very slowly. It had no real build up, or it has to be incredibly beautiful looking, you know, to play into their senses of vanity. And it did neither of those things. It wasn't an incredibly beautiful film. And so then I know some of you are probably sitting there saying, well, it's obvious who it was for. It's for the LGBTQ people, their allies, or potentially just super liberal parents who were going to take their children to see this movie, right? But even then, I'm more in doubt of that than I am sure of that. And one of the biggest reasons is that I simply don't know if I don't think that they were catered to nearly well enough if that was the target demographic for the film. I just didn't see any part of the film that was actually geared toward almost anybody, or especially that was geared toward the family, a family unit. Like even if you had a lesbian couple taking their young son to the film, I still didn't see it. Does this really appeal to them? Because I just couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't figure it out. Not only could I not figure it out, but it became incredibly inherently apparent to me as I was watching the film and pausing to go back to watch the trailers every so often, that clearly the marketers, both the people who made the trailers as well as the marketing department, clearly they couldn't figure it out either. They did not know what the heck was going on with this film either, which I guess is why they hid the whole Nazi connection as well as the whole potential cross-dressing connection from the audience. He only, at least in the movie, he only wore women's shoes. So I don't think he fully cross-dressed. And after seeing the movie, I actually had to go back and look up the story to make sure that it was in fact the real story. And of course it was. But unfortunately, I can't remember if he was a full cross-dresser or not. But that doesn't really matter. But I just did not think that the way in which they told that served pretty much any audience at all, which is probably why it flopped so bad. Even thinking about it now, it confuses me. It almost hurts my head to think about it. This has nothing to do with being trans or trans people, especially if you feel like that's confusing. I don't think that's confusing at all, but it has nothing really to do with that. It doesn't even have anything to do with LGBTQ stuff. They don't really all that much talk about his actual sexuality and whether or not he is a member of the LGBTQ. He sort of kind of flirts with Leslie Mann. She's one of the main characters in the story, but again, you're not really sure if he's flirting with her because he's truly romantically interested in her, or if he's doing it because he's trying to, I guess, suss out what her actual character in real life is, like how she is in real life, so that the doll that he has that is similar to her can be more like her in real life. It's just a very strange story. And I was like, I just did not know who the heck this was for. The worst thing is that I feel like I'm seeing more and more films that are like this. You get into the film and it's not even that it has been advertised incorrectly. It's just that it's confusing as to who the story is even supposed to be catering to. So yeah, yeah, like I said, the show which shall not be named, it has this in spades, and this was talked about online, like in articles and things that are supposed to write about the show. It was talked about online oftentimes. They were talking about how the show was supposedly, I'm not even going to really go into it with the show, because when I start talking about the show, you'll probably be able to figure it out even easier. So I'm not going to talk about that. But again, going with the movie, even the movie, it was on a generational level. Who is this for? Like, I just couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't figure it out. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about it, is that films need to be able to figure out and pinpoint who their audience is. Because right now, for a lot of these films, it almost feels like they're trying to hit too many moving targets. Cast not just a wide net, but like cast multiple wide nets, and it feels just super weird. I compare it almost in some ways to Warner Brothers HBO Max. Okay, so for the last couple of years, and I don't know why HBO Max, I don't know why they tried to do this, but for the last couple of years, HBO has been like, oh, you know what we should try to do? We should try to change our brand and start catering to the younger demographic. And so, out of that, they came up with a couple of shows. It was like we are who we are. I think they had Betty's, although that might have been Showtime. They definitely had Generation. Man, I don't even know what it's called, like Generation Plus or something like that. And they had a few others as well. Not a single one of these shows is actually good. And most of them have been canceled. And so I'm just like, well, why are you holding out on canceling the last few that are not good? It's like maybe 2 of them. And I'm like, why are you holding out? Cancel these 2. They also are not good. But people are like, no, you shouldn't cancel this one because it is good. And I'm like, no, it's not. Not only is it not good, but it goes in some ways against the whole HBO brand and what it had established for so long. I don't understand why you're switching it up now to try to make shows to where it's like, I don't even know who this show is actually supposed to be for, because it clearly doesn't seem like it's for the group that you think it's supposed to be for, that you think it's supposed to, you meaning the company, that you think it's supposed to actually be for. It seems like it's for an older group. And that was the case with Marwen. I just didn't know who it was supposed to be for. It almost did feel like it was supposed to be for an older group, but it was too trite and it just too saccharine to have any real effect on an older group in any sort of way. So yeah, like I said, that's all I have to say on this. I think that companies should definitely make sure that when they are trying to hit these demos, that they actually know how to cater to these demos. And all of that said, I am not going to lie. I have written more than enough stuff that does not, yes, it'll fit into a particular like genre or what have you, but it does commit some of the same exact sins as Welcome to Marwen, in that it doesn't seem to know its key demographic. It doesn't seem to cater specifically to those people, to those consumers. So I'm guilty of this too, but I know that we as a collective, as artists and entertainers, and as the business of art and entertainment in Hollywood and the publishing and all that, we kind of need to definitely corral ourselves and get it together so that we're not just suggesting stuff to people based solely on, well, I don't know, based solely on us just wanting to make money, basically. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say for now. Hey, everybody. So while I don't have an official sign off yet, I guess I should do the whole please like, comment, share, and if you so desire and you want to see more, subscribe. But more importantly, I will ask that you please go and purchase one of my books. They are mostly ebooks, and pretty much they are all under $10. See if any of my work is actually any good, if it lives up to any of the things that I'm talking about here on my channel, specifically with the entertainment industry videos. So please go purchase my books. All of my links are down below. Thank you.